Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So guys, one of the hardest things I had to learn growing up as an adult, I would say making that transition from adulthood to childhood, is that just because you do something good doesn't necessarily mean something good will follow. What I mean is, people who work within the system itself, meaning this kind of capitalistic system, or work within some kind of system as a yes man, some kind of corporate system, they can be assholes, they can be pricks, they can be horrible people. As long as they're functioning at the behest of the powerful, they will get advantaged, they will move ahead. People doing what's right, however, is something different. There's a difference between doing what's right from the standpoint of a system or somebody within that system and doing what's right from a larger perspective, meaning from a human perspective. There are things that matter more. People who left their jobs in order to protest, some of those people were fired summarily, but they went out, they protested because they were being treated wrong or other people were being mistreated. When a football player takes a knee, he does one of the most trivial games that you can think of, taking a pigskin, throwing a pigskin down the field. It's a stupid human trick, and it's a stupid human trick, however, that within this particular system is a marketable talent. He understands this though. He understands that from a larger perspective, from a larger context, what he does is trivial in comparison to the things that take place throughout the wider world. Someone gets shot in the face. The person walks. The cop walks. It happens over and over and over again. He identifies with the people who get shot in the face, but he has no capacity whatsoever to do anything about it. And he understands that his trivial game in comparison to what's taking place in the larger world is a trivial act. His fame, however, is not a trivial thing. His capacity to influence people is not a trivial thing. And he makes the determination to leverage his fame to point attention to the fact that, hey, there are people in a society being shot in the face by cops, and those cops are walking. That is a moral and courageous act. He was fired for that moral and courageous act. No one would hire him because it doesn't fit within the capitalistic system itself. He's a problem person within the system. Even though from a larger context, from a moral context, it was correct. Martin Luther King took beating after beating. He was an anti-imperialist, anti-capitalist radical. They tried to make him look like a peacenik. The man was a goddamn radical. And being anti-capitalist and anti-imperialist in a country that was virulently capitalist and virulently imperialist, you can understand that there will be issues and problems associated with him living in this country and being as outspoken as he was. Especially also because, by the way, he was black. He was black. There was an entire political, economics, and social structure that was built on this idea that he was less than, that he was somehow subordinate to the rest of the population. He pushed back against this. He pushed back against this peacefully. But that peace was somewhat of a violent force. They hit back. Yes, he was being peaceful, but it didn't matter that he was being peaceful. He was hit, punched, slapped. He was put in prison. He had dogs pushed against him and barking against him. He had the FBI trying to get him to commit suicide. Understand the situation to which he was presented. It was a morally courageous thing. Not just morally courageous, but physically courageous. He was in hostile territory, and he gave his life for a greater cause. What I'm trying to get at is, doing good doesn't necessarily mean good follows. And oftentimes, doing good is the opposite of being good that follows. We have this weird system where humanistic concerns are punished, meaning doing the right thing from a humanistic standpoint goes against the societal scale. What goes in line with the societal scale is working at the behest of power. Going against power in this sense is often punished. Not because power is right. Power tries to create a reality unto itself. More so because it has the capacity of power. It has the capacity to punish. It doesn't like this thing of pushing against the system itself. It doesn't like somebody saying something is wrong with the system and the system needs to change. There are incentives built into the system itself that allows the system to function in the way the system is. Otherwise, you wouldn't have a system like that in the first place. Pushing against something like that with this idea of these humanistic concerns is not necessarily rewarded, even though it is something that from a higher perspective is morally just and morally right. Those kids who went out to protest the gun violence the other day, some of those kids are going to be put on detention because they went out. It is a sad state of affairs where you have kids who are getting politically active because other kids are being shot in the face. That is an extraordinarily sad state of affairs. There are larger concerns and larger issues in their classrooms, and the fact that these kids at a young age realizes it should be congratulated, not being punished. But again, this goes back to the original point. The incentives in the society that go towards people doing the right thing are few and far between, and often doing the right thing is disincentivized. Just like this. Giving punishment when somebody is taking a morally courageous stand and taking this active role in their society for something that is wrong, or for the most part, that their parents have failed them, that their grandparents have failed them, and making that statement and being out in public making that statement, that is a morally and righteous thing, and they should be congratulated for it. Shame on those schools that will go out and try to slap them on the wrist and slap them on the hand and put them in detention for doing the right goddamn thing. Those kids went out and did what their parents and their grandparents didn't do. They spoke up. Your schools may not recognize you for it. I recognize you for it. This program recognizes you for it. Good fucking job. Those schools can go fuck themselves. You did the right thing. I'll leave it at that. This was the article that I'm looking at on this. Where is it? Right here. Pennsylvania schools to issue more than 200 detentions to students who took part in the walkout. I put the article at the bottom. The title kind of speaks for itself. It's America. You guys have a good one. If you enjoy the content, feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, you can always support through Patreon. Thanks, everyone. And good job, kids.